What's up, everybody? Just want to tell you how you can come support us real quick. You can go to rockfin.com/Truthzilla. Come watch us over on Rockfin. Don't watch us on YouTube, dude. Like, YouTube days are winding to a close. It's been a fun ride. Thank you, YouTube, but fuck you. So anyway, also, you can support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Truthzilla. We're just going to rock that till the wheels fall off. And then go hit us up over on truthzilla.org/shirts. Get yourself a nice Truthzilla shirt. We got a couple new designs. Don't tell Teespring. They're going to be really pissed when they see them. So anyway, it's one of them. I'll superimpose the images over here. But yeah, you guys, go get yourself a freaking Truthzilla shirt, man. What are you doing? So anyway, love you guys. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of Truthzilla. I am Scott, sitting here with my friend Ed. Sorry guys, Megan couldn't make it tonight again, but we are sitting here with our good friend from just slightly up north, Mackenzie. So Mackenzie, we met her at the first Freedom Cell rally that I ever went to, my first exposure to Freedom Cell.
My first one as well.
And so she's been a huge inspiration to everything that we've been doing for the last 6 months. And so Mackenzie, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you guys so much. It's an absolute honor to be here. The Truthzilla had already started when we met, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been going for a
How
few
deep
months.
into it had you gone at that point?
It was summer, right?
Yeah, it was summer, so we were maybe 3 months, 4 months into it, something like that.
Okay.
You know, we'd already met Adam. Adam had started listening to us and reached out to us. I'm not sure. I think he'd started Deborah Gets Red Pilled at that point. So, and he was just getting off the ground. And he's got big, dude. I talked to Adam quite a bit, and he's got so many cool things going on. And so, you know,
I just hung out with his wife just before this,
so cool.
It's all
Love
connected.
it.
Yeah, she's pretty rad too.
Absolutely. They were some of the first people that I really connected with on a friendship level that came to this meetup that I started, which just started in a park last summer, for people that wanted to see faces and smiles and hang out and not be 6 feet apart.
Yes.
But it's, it's like come at your own risk. It's not a exclusive thing, and people have come and worn masks too. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's everyone taking responsibility for themselves, right?
Sure.
And we decided that we wanted to be with other people. So anyways, Emily and Adam showed up, and we've been hanging out ever since. And he started the podcast definitely after the meetup, because definitely wasn't like the meetup 100% inspired it, but it was like so many exciting conversations happening.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. Once people started to gather again, it's like, wow, we've been cooped up in our houses, some of us for a very long time, some of us defying that the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, we haven't been gathering in groups like normal. So it's kind of like word vomit comes out when you start getting together again. Well,
I think, as crazy and bad as this thing, the overplay of the pandemic and everything has been, for a lot of us, I would say this has been one of the greatest times of our lives, because I've always talked about it. We've been finding our soul family. I really believe that is a really good way of putting it. And we're finding our voices, man. I would have never been speaking on a podcast if it wasn't for, Bill Gates, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't for Bill Gates, dude, I wouldn't be in a freaking group chat with Sam Tripoli and Charlie Robinson.
Right?
Like, what the hell, dude? Like, what the hell?
Totally. So
what dimension are we living in?
It's been great in that sense, and I still think it's given us a lot of us purpose, because we have to push back because they're pushing hard, right? So we have to do our part. And but really, for our journey, one of the most pivotal moments of the journey, for me personally, was coming up to that Freedom Cells meeting in Portland, and just meeting a ton of, being in a room with like-minded people. And that meeting was specifically because we did the gong bath at the end, and Howard spoke.
Yeah, that was with Howard.
That was my first time. That was just amazing. And I've said this many times to other people too. I have felt since that meeting specifically, I felt like deja vu, these kind of synchronicities that I've been having. It's just there's bigger things than all of us happening, right? And that's where there was a big recognition in my mind. That happened. I was like, dude, there were people there that I knew, and I don't know how I knew them, but I knew them, right? We were connected. Yeah. So
totally.
Yeah. So it's
soul family is a great way to describe it. This tribe that is from all walks of life.
Yeah.
all races, all socioeconomic statuses, all kinds of professions. I mean, from professional doctors to people who have never worked a real job in their life. I mean, it's incredible the kinds of humans who show up to this because they see some deeper things going on than your average individual. And a big shift for us recently, which it's funny that your first one, Ed, was that talk, because it's not our typical meeting. It's way
Sure.
more discussion based usually. And that was actually one of the only guest speakers we've ever had. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Scott, did you come before when it
Yeah.
was more discussion
Yeah,
based?
I'd been up there with Megan. I can't remember exactly
Yeah.
which one it was, but I think I'd been up a couple times
Yeah.
before that. Yeah. I've been I've been to 3 of your guys' PDX Free Thinkers meetups, but yeah.
Well, I have to report that it's just gone absolutely parabolic in the last month.
I bet.
And so we were probably hovering around, I don't know, 60 to 70 in the Telegram for a while. And it had kind of like plateaued, and the same core 20 people were showing up, and it was really strong and foundational. And then we hooked up with like 2 other networkers in Portland, and they just have been going crazy. We now have over 130 in our Telegram group, which is just people who've been to a meeting.
Nice.
And then because we don't let anyone, for privacy and safety reasons, like you have to come to a meeting, people have to see your face.
Yep.
I think you and I were having a discussion about that, Scott.
Yep.
And with your guys'
We
protocol.
have that same protocol here too. Like we have the main group that you can email me your intentions from the Freedom Cells website and get an invite to the main general group, and then from there, once you come to a meetup, then you get an invite to the in attendance only type group. So
The inner group.
the inner cadre type deal, right? Yes.
Yeah. It's all about the cadre. So we're a middle cadre for sure. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't even discuss that really anymore, because it's so big and because it's all brand new people. Like that kind of feels like a next level topic at this point, because it's just so many people that are yearning for connection, wanting to talk about the craziness that they're seeing in the world. And so many are finally feeling comfortable again, taking your own responsibility, assessing the risk and saying, okay, I'm a healthy person. If I'm not around anyone that's immunocompromised, I feel okay to be going out in the world and, interacting. And so I can't, every single time there's someone that's like, I can't believe I haven't found you guys till now.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the same thing?
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
certainly,
Fairly
certainly.
recently, shout out to Victoria.
Yeah.
Victoria, she was found the podcast and started listening to the podcast and was like, what the hell, you guys are in Eugene, and reached out to us. And I'm like, not only are we in Eugene, but have you heard of Freedom Cells before?
Yeah.
And so so those experiences are magical. Like and then through that, we have a lot of local listeners who have like reached out to us, and we very, very much a part of the Freedom Cells. So it feels like family. Like, talk about family, dude. Like some of the folks out there, like Robert, dude, your family, dude.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like there's so many of them that are just like.
What about Josiah? We just had Josiah,
Yeah.
like this 19-year-old kid. We had him on the podcast like a couple weeks ago. He wrote a 30-page like expose, like just breaking down the whole pandemic. Everything is sourced.
Yeah.
It was our second YouTube strike.
Yep.
They pulled it down in 6
Yep.
hours.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep. So you can find that report at truthzilla.org/debunked.
Yes.
So it's a killer report. So check it out.
I can't wait to check that out. And
yeah.
I already have humans in mind I'm going to send it to you. Thank you.
Totally. So
Thank you,
shout out to
Josiah. That's
Josiah.
amazing.
Shout out Josiah. So, anyway, dude, so Freedom Cells has become like a huge part of our journey. And really, I think at this point, seeing it unfold in ways that I don't even know. Like at this point, I feel like it's really important just to find community, build trust, build these friendships, build these connections, and where this leads, I don't even know. Obviously the skill sharing is a big part of it. I think just, but more so than anything right now, it's just the fellowship and the community that we're building. I think is just amazing. And I see other people like in the chat, like doing things outside of the meetups and becoming like close to each other. And it's just you guys like have taken it to a whole nother level. Like you guys have separate Telegram groups for each like topic. Like you have a crypto one, and then like it's really
so much.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It blows my mind honestly, because as soon as I I said, hey, this is way bigger than I ever thought it would be, and asked for help. So many amazing humans. I'm not going to say their names because they're really into privacy, but are just totally stepped it up. And I basically, I help as much as I can, but like I don't have to do anything anymore. It's this I mean, there's someone who definitely runs the thing and she knows who she is as far as the telegrams. But other than that, I mean, there's planning and admin channel, but it's this beautiful, organic,
Yes.
self-replicating cell, truly,
Yeah.
that is continuing to grow. And yeah, we literally have close to 20 subgroups right now, from everything from crypto to people that want to unschool and homeschool, to
Yes.
those that are gardening and food sharing,
Yes.
to those that are looking into energy independence and community living, you know, all kinds of stuff that's just solution focused.
Yes.
I would say, you know, there's not really any that's just like dark. I mean, the medical freedom one is kind of pretty intense because as we were just talking about before the show, there's some pretty gnarly laws coming down the pipeline. So I don't know, what's your guys' opinion on, as far as like, not fighting that, because I'm not down with fighting the system, but just like, is it valid to write a petition or to write letters? I have kind of stepped away from that Actually, no, I'm not even going to lie. I've 100% stepped away from that. And I don't advocate for that anymore. I kind of see it as begging for permission instead of just going out and taking your sovereignty and freedom.
Yeah.
However, I think there is a time and a place when enough humans get together and stand up and say, this is absolutely not okay with us, and we're never going to let you pass this through. You know,
I kind of came here from the medical freedom movement, right? Like, so like,
yeah,
I
remember that.
I have a child who was injured by vaccines, and we had to do a lot of work to heal him. Right. And it, you know, and I learned a lot. Right. So, and I think there is a lot of honest people with really good intentions that are fighting for good things in that movement. I see your point. And I think there is, you know, where we're at today in some ways, I think the medical freedom movement predicted it, right? Like there was always this, here's the childhood vaccination schedule that they're forcing down us, and they're trying to remove all the exemptions across the country. Every legislative session in every state, they're bringing a new bill every single time. So it's becoming to this point where parents are, you know, at the courthouses, you know, once a year, thousands of them across every state every year, and it's horrible. It just keeps coming, right? But we're at this point now. We kind of knew, like, this was never about the childhood vaccination schedule, right? This was about the adults, right? This $60 billion a year industry was going to become, you know, a much bigger, you know, it was going to double, triple, quadruple, right? To trillions.
They're looking at trillions.
So now, and here we are. Here was their foot in the door, right? So, and I mean, freedom cells is kind of maybe the big thing that's kind of reshaped my thinking in a lot of this is like, can we fight them at their game, or should we just, I always say like fuck them, like let's build our own better. Not build back better, build your own better. Just remove yourself from dependence on their system, right? But I also fight with that. I struggle because, you know, I also grew up in this matrix, right? It's hard to give away all of it, right? So and to have to recreate everything. So there is a balancing act to it, right? So I maybe don't. I'm with you that I'm not going to probably be at the courthouse, and maybe I will. I don't know, but like a lot of me is also looking at where I'm at, and am I going to move from this state? You know, am I going to? Yeah. And is that going to be part of my existence going forward? Is being able to travel, though, right? As these things come down, and being able
I have a solution. Don't worry. We have private airlines.
Nice.
Waiting.
Nice. I love it. But so
not that I'm starting, but just, you know, friends. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We there's always going to be a black market, gray market, agro solution, which is the beautiful thing that I think that, yeah, exactly what you were saying. Freedom Cells does bring that to light as far as, hey, we can do our own system. And so I totally agree. It is a balancing act. I personally live inside city limits. So I have one foot inside the matrix at all times, just because of my location, but definitely planning to get out as soon as possible. You know, and it is a balancing act forever though, because we have these little phones and our technology. And I, to be quite honest, fantasize quite frequently about the day that will be my last day with this little thing that I don't want to be with me anymore. And, you know, I'll probably switch to like a flip phone or like the Librem or something before I fully get rid of a phone forever. But I'm only in I'm starting my third decade this summer. And like, I think that there will definitely be vast portion of my lifetime where we don't rely on those anymore, at least in the reality that I'm trying to create.
Sure.
What do you guys think about that?
No, I in a lot of ways, I totally agree. But then again, I'm also a podcaster, right? And so like, so I am trying to get this information out there, and I enjoy it, and it's become part of my life that I want to keep doing. And also that's how I take in information, right? Like I have this thing that broadcasts information to me. Like like that's why anyone who podcasts is because you listen to podcasts for like half your day, right? Yeah. So like that's why you do it, right? So it's so yeah.
And I'm the first. I'm totally addicted to Instagram. I run like probably 6 pages at this point, and I actually, you know, find it fascinating the ways that I can hack the algorithms, whether you take a screenshot and don't tag someone, because if you repost from a shadow banned account, then your thing won't get views. It's wild, but yeah I find it fascinating. The ways that we can slip through the algorithms, and something that we've been doing recently with our Freedom Cell, because, or, you know, our PDX free thinkers, because so many of us have been censored online continuously. We're going right through the technology, going straight to the streets, and we have been stickering the entire city with the White Rose Project. Are you guys familiar with that?
Lay it on us.
Yeah, so I'm not the best to give the full overview, but it's essentially a project that started out of England, the UK, and they are focused on just really small, black and white, easy to read, essentially memes or phrases. You know, some of them say, "Stay free." One of my favorite ones that I post everywhere says, "Your obedience is prolonging this nightmare."
Yep.
Just little, like, you know, red, white pills that kind of just slip. I mean, there's no algorithm to block them. It's literally on street signs. I've had people tear them down. That's the algorithm, you know. But we have been printing thousands and been getting them. I mean, so I've had so many people randomly see that I'm handing out the stickers, and then they're like, "Oh, I've been seeing these everywhere." Wow. I'm like, cool. That's what we're here to do. And I've also had some not so lovely confrontations with, you know, scientists that are angry with me, but at the end of the day, it's you know, it's a balancing act, like you said, but it's also like, you just gotta not let it affect you personally and on an emotional level, and just keep on with the mission, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And it's also, you know, the stickers is an interesting idea. I mean, I think that a lot of people I've heard come to, like, whether it's a pamphlet or a sticker or a card, and the medical freedom movement does the same thing, right? Like they have the a lot of times they'll do the big signs that are all black and red, you know, and just simple facts about vaccines, you know. And this is pre-pandemic vaccines that were poisoned before. They were poisoned before this one, right? So, and you know, they'll go on the overpass and hang big signs, but there's also like the little, like I have a bunch of like just little stock cards I can just pass out that just have just little information, right? And then there's like we had Tina Marie on. She talked about from learntherisk.org that, you know, they had little cards that you could leave in the credit card slot when you left a gas station, right? So the next person before they put the credit card in. It's just little things like that, you know. Getting completely outside of the algorithm and just sharing information. Just give facts, right? Because you don't even have to put any slant on it. It's just the facts speak for themselves, right? And
or just a provocative question that gets someone to step outside the box of their own pre-programmed mind or what they've been fed, and it's like, oh. I mean, one of ours just says staying human is more important than anything else. And it's like hugs, faces, and handshakes or something, you know, and it really is a dehumanizing agenda.
Yes.
And
100%.
That's what breaks my heart the most, because so many well-meaning, loving, caring people, intelligent people, my family, you know, so many humans just are too trusting in the government, and that's what it comes down to. And I don't know if you guys have read Larken Rose's The Most Dangerous Superstition.
No.
Heard of it? Oh, put that on your list.
Heard Larken Rose, yeah, for sure. But
yeah, he'll be a future podcast guest for you.
Definitely.
He is a very prominent anarchist philosopher and author. He, you know, was a big tax protester back in the day and wrote some books on that. But his, you know, pinnacle work is called The Most Dangerous Superstition. And it's thin. It's probably like 200 pages, but it's just so well put out, so logical. So once you read it, there's really no going back to statism, which is just the belief in authority that this group called government can rule over you just because they got together and said that they could.
Or they got together and convinced us to tell them that they could or something like what.
Totally.
Yeah, dude,
well, yeah.
Bizarre.
It breaks down the voting thing so well because there's a lot of pre-programmed things that people want to say when I describe that I'm a non-voter and that I actually think voting's violence.
Whoa.
Because he describes it as this is actually from Larken, because at the end of the day, you are advocating for a monopoly on violence, on force, right? The police force that is backing up the laws written on paper. At the end of the day, if you don't follow them, someone will come to your door, presumably to arrest you with a gun. And so that is violence and force. And what if you don't obey? Well, they're going to throw you in a cage or potentially kill you. So, I mean, that's violent. And I never had thought of it that way at all until reading that book. And that actually was such a catalyst for me, because I read that when I was living in Mexico, selling a car down there. And then with the money, my previous partner and I bought tickets to Acapulco and went there, and just like, it was all over from that point.
Man, we have to go so bad. We always say that. And we wanted to go to Float Fest this year, but it is.
Was it Tina Marie at Float Fest?
Yeah. What's that?
Your previous guest, Tina Marie, she took over for Brandy Vaughn, correct?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. I saw her speak at Float Fest. I just couldn't 100% remember her name. She's an incredible human.
Yeah.
Give us a report about Float Fest.
Yeah, well, the craziest part was that we drove a 30-foot RV from Portland, Oregon, straight to Texas with, limited time because you're going to the festival.
Yeah.
And left a day later than we planned on. So it was pretty fun. My father actually ended up coming because we had an additional driver that ended up getting another ride, totally fine. But he, the last minute, my partner couldn't come, and a couple other people we asked couldn't come. And then my dad is pretty much retired and loves adventure. He's gone to Acapulco before.
Okay,
so
cool.
He's
Wow.
super,
right.
He's so on board. He's so awesome.
Love it.
Love you, Dad. He's like, so Float Fest sounds pretty cool. I'll help drive the RV. He loves adventuring.
Yes.
RVs are so. Anyways, we got down there real quick. Drove straight south through Eugene, of course, down to LA, and then once we hit I-10, just went straight east over to Texas. And so that was my first time in an RV, and that was really fun. There's a really cool site called Outdoorsy that's basically like Airbnb for RVs or adventure vans. So I like to plug that. It's not an ad or anything. It's just they were a good source if you're trying to go on an adventure. But yeah, Float Fest was amazing. I am a festival camping goer my entire life, thanks to my parents. So it was, it felt like I was right at home, but it was way more luxurious because I had this RV and I've never, gotten that experience. The only downside I'll just start with is that there was like 60-mile-an-hour winds. We were in the middle of Texas, and it was, so the wind was the only bummer because I was trying to vend my jewelry. I'm not the artist, but I curate it. And the setup was not fun. So we didn't really do any selling, which was okay. It was more connecting with the individuals. But it was basically just 3 days of camping, talking over campfires, eating breakfast together, going for long walks, listening to people on stage, making new friends, and really just unplugging is my favorite part about any event, because, I'm on my phone 1/10 of the time that I normally am, So it felt really lovely just as a reset, and big props to Aaron and Kingsley for putting together such an incredible event. Have you guys had them on the podcast yet?
Not yet. We need to, for sure.
We got to be on the Union with.
Yeah, we were on the Union of the Unwanted with them at one point, but we need to definitely get them on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, big speakers. I know Del Bigtree and Sam Tripoli were there. Did you get to see each of them?
I did. So Dell, literally we rolled up at probably like 6:30 and Dell went on at 7. So we just parked the RV right in front and strolled on over to watch him. That was great. Yeah, he's such a powerful speaker,
Yes.
obviously online, but then in person, he has such a big presence on stage. So it was really fun. And just to hop right in there, he had like, it was cool. There was like this beautiful barn just right next to the stage that was the only building built out there that you could go inside. And he had like a whole crew from Austin or wherever he came in from that just came to see him that night. So it was kind of like the VIP area. And I just stroll in wherever. I don't ask to go permission anywhere. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? And they're like, oh yeah, we're just here to see Dell. And it was really cool. And so, yeah, he was a powerful speaker, of course. I tend to like not really listen to, I mean, no offense to anyone, but I just tend to not really listen to like main speakers because I consume so much content already that I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard you say this already.
Yep, totally.
But I like to go talk to the individuals. And that's what my favorite part is about these events, that you don't have to go sit and necessarily listen to the talk, but you can maybe go introduce yourself afterwards. Yeah. And when else would you ever get that opportunity, you know?
Yeah,
certainly.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So,
So I also got to meet Sam just really quickly.
Nice.
And it was funny because it was right before he went on the following night. And our friend Adam, of course, of Deborah Gets Red Pilled, had told me before to just bug him about getting on Adam's show or responding to him or something. So like Sam's going on, and I have my son who's one in a couple months with me. And I'm like, hey, Sam, like right before he's going on stage, I'm like, hey, Adam really, I don't know what I said. I just said something like, hit Adam up, stop being a douchebag kind of thing. And totally joking. But then we totally just got in a conversation about our children because he has twin girls that are like a couple months apart from my son. Yeah. So it was just so fun. And I had no idea that he had kids. So that was a cool interaction.
He's got twin girls.
Yeah. Oof,
was it Ninja and
Ghost and Ninja?
That's
Ghost
karma
and Ninja.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's some intense karma as a comedian to have 2 baby girls.
Yeah. Yep. It's hilarious.
So anyways, it was really fun. And then the next day I did kind of like a walking interview for this project that I was helping out with. And were you guys watching that day on the Speakeasy?
I was, yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
For a portion of it. I'm always at work when those are going on, and it's like, yeah. Yeah, it's I think it's still on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it was fun just to walk and talk and interview. So I got to interview like a couple people that work for Float, some of the main artists that performed and that had their live painting art there. A couple of my good friends who I just think are really cool. So it was just fun, and it definitely re-inspired the journalist in me to do the interviews. And then thank you guys for continuing to inspire that with the podcast. I'm super stoked to be using my voice because I have a big mouth. That's awesome.
Well, we're honored to have you.
Outlet sometimes.
So we were talking about it off the air a little bit. You want to allude to what other projects you got going on here?
Sure. Yeah. The Portland Free Thinkers, PDX Free Thinkers is kind of, it was my baby project, but it's expanded to a beautiful community. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest area, please reach out and we'll put some links. So basically we have a channel where it's a public channel on Telegram where anyone can see local events going on that are, no mask required essentially. So we can link that. And then, that's kind of like my monthly, bi-weekly community activism, but so many small groups have started from that. So we're doing a lot of crypto meetups, really getting people on board with just basic crypto knowledge, how to buy, sell, secure your wallet. I've been invested in cryptocurrency for several years now. That was definitely one of my red pills into anarchy and free thinking and voluntarism and free markets and all that. So I don't know if we want to talk about crypto later.
Oh yeah.
Well, since I went to my first Freedom Sales meetup, I have gotten a wallet and put a little bit in crypto, right? And really I've just let it sit, and I'm learning, but I'm curious because, there are people like, and maybe, like, I think it's Allison McDonald that's like she's on Twitter, and she's almost calling out like Derek Bros and like she's calling out crypto. She's calling out freedom cells. She's calling out other things. But there are some arguments on the other side that I'm a little bit concerned about. And I'm new. I'm going to say I don't know a lot. I'm curious, someone who's been in there for a while, but the idea of that the blockchain technology could be really used against us in the new control grid that they're putting out, right? And
100%.
And why is Bitcoin and crypto safe from these same things? That's kind of a big question, but it's just, as a new person in crypto, right? Like I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic question, Ed, because it is a really complex, layered subject that, as a new person into the space, you could get swept right into a scam quicker than you could blink your eye, and your money would be gone.
Yeah.
I kid you not. I have heard endless stories. I could pick them out of a hat, and even myself, mistakes that I've made within the space about safety, security, timing. I mean, just everything, But yeah, let's see, refocusing to your question about the blockchain technology being able to be used against us. I mean, it's the exact same thing, how you're saying, well, yeah, we're podcasters. We want to get this information out here, but yet we're using these devices where they're spying, listening, tracking us 24/7. So each piece of technology, of course, has light and dark, and it depends on how you use it. Yes. For those that are new to it, blockchain technology, you can think of a literal block, a square, right? And it's in a chain, and all these little blocks have different transactions that were from roughly the same amount of time. Okay. So let's say that there's 10 transactions in 1 minute. I'm totally just making this up on the Bitcoin block. And that's going to go in a little block. And then the next minute's going to be the next block, et cetera, et cetera. And so what's interesting, my candle just went out here. What's interesting about the technology is that theoretically the blockchain is completely transparent, where you could go look at all of these transactions and say, okay, this happened at that time. However, the reason why some people say that it can be anonymous, it's really pseudo-anonymous. It's not, unless you're like so careful and use a computer that's never been on the internet. I mean, there's ways, but like it's super next level. So anyways, you can look at all of the transactions, which if you just called up Chase Bank and said, hey, can I look at all the transactions you guys have done in the last hour? They'd say, no, absolutely not. Who are you? So what's really cool is that you can actually run a Bitcoin. Well, I'm just talking about the Bitcoin blockchain right now. You can run a Bitcoin node, which is basically your computer keeping a log of all the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. And that is why and how cryptocurrencies can be decentralized. So I'm sure you guys have heard that hot topic word, decentralization. Yep. It's, different than the central banks, of course. It's quite opposite. So that is, really what's at the forefront of what's crumbling in front of our eyes right now, the central banking system. Yep. They've been kicking the can down the road for as long as I've been alive, but like it's really coming to a head now. It seems like it. My parents always give me crap because I'm like, this is the year the dollar's going down.
But that's kind of how it works, though, right? Is they just kick the can down until they're out, and then they say, "Pay us."
Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah, that's the hustle. That's the scam. But at some point, it's no longer going to be viable, dude. And they're already, I think the writing's on the wall. Like they're trying to transition to CBDC. That's going to be the big one to watch out for. Central bank digital currencies. Like just they're trying to co-opt this technology for themselves. And so I think just because of them utilizing the technology for their own nefarious purposes doesn't negate the fact that like things like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Ethereum I know is so much more versatile because all these other coins are built on that platform, and I know that there's a lot of innovation happening just in those spaces. I know that like the Ethereum 2 is coming out, and that's going to open up a whole lot of different functionalities and allow for like the whole thing with like the gas prices. Like that's insane. You know what I mean? Like that's I was looking at what it would cost to cash out some of our Rockfin coins, and it's just like it would cost like $160 just to do the transaction.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just for like whatever amount of transactions. Insane. And so Yeah. But anyway.
Can get, it's with popularity, you know, and with adoption and with, you know, just people onboarding. Of course, there's always going to be a period of like, whoa, scaling isn't working right now. And I think a lot of cryptocurrencies are going through that right now. Again, I just try to speak as basic as possible for, you know, I consider myself an onboarder. There's a whole world of development and programming that is a completely different language. I understand a little bit of it, but, you know, even after being in the space for 7 years, it still goes over my head. So anyways, I try to speak in as plain language as possible for even your grandma to understand, because digital currencies are the future. There are the writings on the wall, like you said, and it's just a matter of if we're using theirs or if we're using ones that are decentralized, because there are the CBDCs I just wrote down that you said, those are centralized. That's the same thing as having the fiat come from the same central banks. However, it's just digital now. So that's, we could, you know, there's a whole rabbit hole, of course, with that being tied to the blockchain and the you know,
social credit scores,
HR 666 and just like all the crazy stuff. And I try not to focus on that because it gets dark quick and they want us to focus on it so that it becomes a reality. And I'm just like, oh, that's cute and funny. That's a cute little piece of paper. That's not going to happen to me. And I'm going to do as much as I can to let it not happen to anyone else. So, did that answer the question? I think basically what I want to say at the end of the cryptocurrencies is that if it's coming from the government, if it's a crypto that, you know, doesn't have a huge website behind it, if they don't have press releases, if they're not on the main coin exchanges, probably a scam. Even ones that are on the main coin exchanges, we're in something right now called alt season, which is when all of the coins other than Bitcoin and Ethereum are just going insane. I mean, 100% in a day, 50% in a day, just insane numbers. And those coins at the end of alt season are probably just going to go away. Like they are literally going to be like pumped and dumped and gone. So it's like, make money now while you can. I have a lot of people that always give me pushback, like within the truth community or within like prepping communities that are like, oh yeah, well, when the grid goes down, like, you know, you're just screwed with your crypto. It's like, well, I'm going to let it make me money for now until the grid goes down. And I'm going to use that money to help prepare me for that situation because I'm not in the fearful mindset that that's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's a slow boil kind of thing. But of course they're planning for the grid to go down at some point. They've already been doing the rolling blackouts and stuff every summer.
Yeah, rolling blackouts. I mean, that ties into Agenda 21. They've been wargaming it. You know, they're pretty public about it. And they've been, I think, doing that predictive programming, just some of the laying the seeds of like some sort of cyber attack, you know? And
I mean, the World Economic Forum is talking, they're talking about more than that than anything else right now. Yeah, the cyber attack.
And is that like the World Economic Forum putting that out?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And do you think that they have, because I was just telling a friend this today. I definitely try to follow like cycles. Are you guys familiar with Martin Armstrong, the economist?
No.
Okay, ArmstrongEconomics.com.
Okay, I think I've heard of that actually.
We should put that in the links or whatever. But he's just a very interesting fellow. I'll just share briefly because I want to make the point about the cycles and what's coming in 2022, I believe. That he is an economist, has worked behind closed doors, behind the curtain, so to speak, with the UN, his whole young career. Then when he was an older gentleman, he really finalized this algorithm that was, you know, right when computers were starting, really, in like the 80s, I believe. Getting to be popular. Anyways, he made this algorithm that was based on history because he's a historical economist that plotted the rise and fall of nations, the rise and fall of different coins and currencies, the disease cycles, weather cycles, all of these things. And he found these incredible actual cycles. His main one is like 8.6 years, but then that goes to like an 86-year cycle, an 800, bigger and bigger. And essentially, I love reading his blog because he puts out some of the most solid information. And it's funny because he's an economist, he's not a writer, and I'm a writer. And so he always has like misspellings and stuff, but it's great because he's been calling out the COVID scam forever. And he's like, yeah, this is they're putting, he clearly explains, Agenda 21, he's on the same board, but he's the guy that's been behind the curtain and knows that these people are up to no good. And so anyways, what I wanted to say about that is that he has put out 2 dates that are very interesting to me within the whole rise and fall cycles. The one that we can kind of look out for is 2032. So that is the end of the public wave, I believe. And I'm going to seem silly if I'm misquoting it, but it goes all the way up. And it's like this public wave of like government and public goods and services and right. And then it totally crashes after 2032 and it goes private. So it's this really interesting shift of where we're getting our goods and services from. And I think as voluntarists, we talk a lot about, okay, well, if it was just a free market, like, of course we could make a better business model than the failing schools or what XYZ, whatever. And so that's going to get to happen in the next 10, after 2032. Nice. But here's the not so good thing. Up until then, governments, tyrannical, dictators, whomever across the world are going to be grasping at everything they can to hold on to us as, their cattle essentially. And I know you guys are, know so much about the technocratic state that's being built right here in Portland, right in all the major cities. But that's why I think like we got to look at that 32 date and know that we have time to prepare. But also like they're really going to be turning up the notch between now and the next election. I don't think there will be a next election. I'll say that loud and clear. There might be, but I really doubt it. I'm a big astrological nerd too. And I believe it's called Pluto return. Again, I'll check it. But in 2022 for America, like based on America's birth chart, when America came into being, and it's just going to be this crazy karmic. So actually a couple astrologers that I listen to say that next year is the year for all the pedophilia stuff to come out, all of the exposing of the child trafficking from the high ranks, because it's going to be this midterm election, right? And it's just going to be like a craziness. And then on top of that, this is all just predictions. So, it's just fun to speculate. I'm a speculator, but I am very clear about when I'm speculating because I don't want it to be misconstrued. However, Martin Armstrong, you can go to his article or his website and just type in 2022 and a ton of stuff pops up, because not only is it the midterm elections, but he actually says the disease cycle is coming back up in 2022, like a real pandemic number, like 20% of this population dying. And he's saying, oh yeah, well, of course, people have been cutting off their breathing airways for 2 years at that point. People have been poisoning themselves with experimental injections. So yeah, there's going to be a pretty big, die off.
You got to hit those Deagle numbers.
Anyways, that's all I got to say on the numbers. But what do you guys think about that kind of like timing with everything?
Interesting. It makes sense.
I mean, I haven't looked at it in terms of dates and in terms of this information, but it all makes sense, right? Like, I mean, it all makes sense in my mind. Exactly. I mean, I think I've always said like, this vaccine, this experimental gene therapy they're giving everybody that's gonna support whatever next wave they're calling it, and they're already doing simulations for that. Was the SPARS simulation? So there's more coming. We know that, and once they've already gotten once they've already got our okay that they can put things in our body without our permission, right? Like that's kind of being signed off on right now. So
what was that? I think it was on No Agenda. They were saying, or some one of those shows. I always get confused. But when in doubt, I assume it's probably No Agenda. But anyway, so they were saying like somebody was saying how the next pandemic is gonna make the COVID-19 seem like a gentle caress. And I'm like, oh, That is the most awful thing I've ever heard, dude.
I think that was you said that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing
It
is
was
like
a prominent health official or something that was quoted saying
I mean,
Ugh,
we've gone into this thing and we've beat this dead horse way too far. Like this, the pandemic we have is really, it's the flu, right? It's maybe a little worse. Who knows? It's certainly not what it's made out to be. But I think once they have all this toxic chemicals in most of the population, then we're going to see real results for what they really wanted. You know, it's the problem reaction solution, right? And the solution has always been to get this chemical inside of the population. So we'll see. You know, 2022. It sounds like that makes complete sense to me. I mean, there's
especially if all this information that's been concealed from people comes out around the midterms, and then they're just like, boom. You know, next real pandemic, boom, another lockdown. Because you also know they've been saying we need lockdowns every 2 years for the climate. Same timing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All the climate stuff. I mean, that just even scares me more, honestly. I mean,
that's
all
what
the
they want
carbon.
to indoctrinate the children with.
Yeah,
Definitely,
totally,
that it's
totally.
their fault about all the weather and all the fires. And you know, please, like, would you guys want to just share a little bit about how you fared? I don't know if you talked about it already, but like, what happened with you guys during the fires this summer? That was wild.
Oh man. I mean, really it didn't affect us personally that much, except for like, we're like coughing outside all of the time, right?
Yeah.
For like a month or whatever it was, but it is interesting, and I won't spoil it, but we have a guest coming on in a couple of weeks here that we're going to really get into that stuff and all the geoengineering and all this stuff. Cause I know again, when, I'm in like-minded company here. When we see these things happen, I don't go, "Oh, that's crazy," like that's global warming, right? Like this, I go, "What the hell have they been spraying that has caused for this to happen?" Are they causing the storm? Are they seeding clouds? I mean, there's a lot of different technology they have that they can make these things happen, and it always seems to happen when it's feeding the agenda. It's right, right before these elections and whatnot, and climate change is a hot button topic, and yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I've driven out to Blue River is one of the towns around this area that got hit the hardest.
I know it. Yeah.
And it's so trippy, dude. Like, you drive through that town, and this is fairly recently, like within the last like month and a half, maybe. Anyway, there's like houses. The only thing standing is like the chimney. There's just a chimney, right?
Oh, I've seen that.
You know what I mean?
Near it's on the Mackenzie River.
It is on the Mackenzie River. But then the crazy thing is that
yeah.
the crazy thing is like the house right next door, like literally like 10 feet away, is completely untouched. And the whole town is like that. There'll be like whole subdivision just wiped out, except for one house, just completely untouched. It's like, how does that even happen? It's so trippy. Like, and I'm not, I know a lot of people say that, oh, that's the direct energy weapons, this and that, but I don't know.
I have no idea, and I'm so comfortable saying that I don't know.
Exactly.
But I know it wasn't natural, because the whole
what
town would have been up in smoke, and it's so disintegrated. Like, there's nothing left. And I made that drive also along the Mackenzie River Highway, and it's just wild what is not left. And anyways, I'm named after that river, so it was
there you go.
Love it.
Just to see what was going on. Yeah, my dad used to fish down there when he was in college.
That's so cool.
And I got to say, this Texas snowstorm was another one that my conspiracy hairs on the back of my neck were like, and look, and everything that's coming out of it, it was this decentralized, almost like a Wall Street betting grid of how they did the energy there and how they're coming down on that to centralize all the energy across the country. And, I mean, it just seems like this stuff is just so planned, right? It's just, it
really.
Yeah.
And when you get into, I don't know if you guys have dabbled too much into Gematria.
No.
Not too much.
So I'll give you some names of some really, people who that's their main thing that they study. There's a couple of them that come on the speakeasy sometimes, but anyways, it's essentially, if you take the numerological value of each word, okay? So for example, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. So Ed equals what, 7? I don't know. Oh God, no, that's wrong math. Ed equals 9. And then that's probably still wrong. But anyways, if you break each word down, it has a numerological value, and that's Gematria essentially. And then the trippy part is you start plugging in different words together. You start plugging in all the hot button words like coronavirus, toilet paper, Fauci, all of them equal, I think 52 or 54. It's something insane. It's like Washington, D.C., government, obey. I mean, just all these words that, I mean, I made up those last ones.
Yeah.
But there's many articles written on it. One of my favorite websites is Gematria Effect News. That's written by actually a guy up in Seattle. He's really cool. Well, I mean, I like his work, Zach Hubbard. But anyways, yeah. So essentially what I'm saying is when you break down the events that are going on in the news, whether it's a fire, whether it's a sports game, whether it's the minute that Trump announced something on the thing, down to the minute, they're using the numbers to their advantage, and it's wild. Wow. And that is actually almost too deep of a rabbit hole for me, because then I just get caught up in like, everything's planned. And I think you can really ultimately tell a story to fit that no matter what. And that's the biggest argument that I get when I talk about Gematria. But my immediate response is, but it's all based in math and numbers. Like, the numbers don't lie. Why would this number, why would this word equal the same if they didn't have a correlation, you know? So it's a very interesting rabbit hole.
I mean, I've certainly listened to some people explain things, and I think there's a point. Like, for me, like, I noticed my 33s everywhere, you know, and, you know, obviously we can see our 911s and these kind of things, you know, but there is a point where there's reaching, right? So there's something there, but people take it too far. So
totally.
The stuff I like is like reading, like we've done an episode recently on the Secret Teachings of All Ages, the Manly P. Hall book.
Yes,
and
I know that.
you know, I'm actually reading the part right now where they're talking about Pythagoras, and Pythagoras was like, we've all heard of the Pythagorean theorem, right? Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna save this because I want to do it like a bonus episode on it because it's super cool. But his theory on the numbers and how they oh my God, there's so many different interpretations of what numbers mean from like these ancient mystery schools, like all their interpretations of just numbers 1 through 10.
Oh yeah.
Each one has such a significant you know, meaning, you know, the macro and the micro, you know, as above, so below.
Tarot card pull of the episode.
Tarot card, do a pull. Do it.
It's time.
Okay,
let's do it.
So I've been reading my own tarot cards for, since like 2000, I don't know, more than 5 years for sure. I got a professional reading done right when I moved back to the States, after I was living in Mexico. And that was 2015 was my first tarot card reading. And I was living in Mexico teaching English right after college. We got hit with most likely a harp directed hurricane.
Wow.
Directly hit Cabo San Lucas, category 4 or 5, like 120 mile an hour sustained winds. It was insane. Totally survived. However, it was definitely my biggest awakening as far as like the fragility of life and how powerful Mother Nature is. And I became a total prepper after that because of that experience. And then the prepperism kind of led me to Alex Jones, and then it was like all over from there. So anyway, you know, some of that is too yang for me, a little too intense. And so I got back to Portland, Oregon, which is my hometown. And there's so much like new age hippie stuff here that, you know, of course, got a tarot card reading, and it was so spot on. I started crying, of course, the whole time, because she was just telling me exactly what was going on in my life without me saying a word. And it was really powerful. So anyways, she said, oh, I can definitely tell that you're, you know, meant to get your own deck. And so that was like, I was like, of course, I love buying things. Let me get a new tarot deck. So I've been reading them for myself for 5 years or so now, just pulling a card here and there, and then just reading all about the significance of it. And now I do it for friends all the time, and it's really, really fun. So for those that aren't familiar with tarot, it's the original card deck, actually. Did you guys know that?
I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. I guess I don't know.
So there's 4 suits, the Pentacles, Cups, Swords, and Wands.
Okay.
And then there's and those are the 4 minor arcanas, okay, which are essentially translated to the 4 suits of the card deck today. But the amazing part is that we have the major arcana, which are 22 cards that are the most major pivotal archetypes in all stories, right? Because there's nothing new under the sun. And those 22 cards were removed from our regular playing card deck because, you know, they're too powerful, right?
Okay. Interesting.
So there's a lot of esoteric stuff, obviously. It's,
Nice.
but anyways, so that's just there are 72, I think, cards. 70, yeah, ish. Oh gosh. All the math I'm
72.
gonna look back
72
on.
is a very significant number too in like esoteric meaning. Yeah.
How many how many deck or how many cards are there in a regular playing deck? Do you guys know?
52.
52, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 50. 50.
So it would
52.
actually be 74 tarot
Okay.
cards.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, 74. Anyways, so that's just to say that no matter what we pull, you know, it's bigger, more powerful energy if it's a major arcana card. That doesn't mean that it's less significant if it's a minor arcana card. They all mean different things. And yeah, so all that I do when I pull a tarot card is hold the deck in my hand. This is it's called, I'll plug this girl because she's a really cool artist in Sedona. It's called Z Tarot.
Z-Tarot. Cool.
Zero.
Z-Tarot. Yeah, it's kind of like holographic box. And it's based, because it's a tarot deck, it's based on the original Rider-Waite deck, which is the original one, which you've probably seen pictures of. Anyways, I'll stop rambling. And all you do is hold it. I'm going to ask if there's any guidance that, you know, me, Ed, and Scott need tonight. Some Truthzilla guidance. Or just, yeah, whatever wants to come through.
Yeah.
Sometimes cards fly out of the deck, which is
Ooh.
really funny. Like, you know, you're just shuffling and it'll go, and then that's like your card.
That's it.
But nothing's flying out. And this is a cool one, guys. We have, it looks like, the Four of Pentacles.
4 of Pentacles. There you go.
Mhm.
Very
And what do you
nice.
see? And so I always just ask, what do you see in the card?
Looks like
See a
looks like
flower
4
drooped
pentacles.
over and a rainbow.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I always think the pentacles are bitcoins.
Okay. I think it looks like it's like the flower like dropping seeds into the earth.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so the pentacle,
So
the
we're
suit of
dropping seeds of
pentacles-
truth.
Yep. Dropping seeds.
Yeah.
That's
and
kind
there's
of our
and there's
catchphrase.
usually- yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. So I'll just read to you the couple words that goes with
Is
the
it an
card.
arcana?
It's not. It's a
Oh.
minor
Minor
arcana. So
arcana.
it's a pentacle suit,
Okay.
Yeah.
a suit of pentacles. Which means, I'll just read really quickly. The pentacles are represented by the element of earth. It symbolizes health, finances, work, and creativity. The cards often appear in readings to reflect a physical level of consciousness. So all about what's going on in the physical plane. They show us what we make of our outer surroundings. Pentacles ask us to look at how we manage our finances and priorities. Being from the earth element, pentacles are stability, support, and fertility. The wealth comes to us, and what we decide to nurture and grow is up to us. So that's the overall thing. And Four of Pentacles has 4 words here that go along with it. And later we can look up like much deeper symbolism
Sure.
results and you guys, because I mean, people write full books on what each card, I mean, not what each card means, but
Yeah.
what each pages and pages on each
Wow.
card. So this is very concise. But the Four of Pentacles is talking about saving money, security, and controlling your abundance or scarcity, which is really interesting because I don't know, it just always reminds me of crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. Wow.
Nice,
Thank you for
nice.
that.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
amazing.
Oh yeah,
Have you
so random. Gosh, well, we'll have to do like real in-person
Oh, yeah.
ones. I
For
mean,
sure.
that one, it wasn't like, oh, that totally was what we were talking about tonight. No.
No.
I'll probably need
I'm
more
down.
cards, but yeah, it's really fun to do like 3 in a row when you are actually holding the deck because your energy is put into the cards and the
Yeah.
exact message that needs to be heard by you usually comes out. So
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Have you ever seen the movie Edmund with William H. Macy?
I don't think I have.
Okay, you got to go watch it.
Okay, I'm
It's
writing
one
it
of the
down.
one of the best movies ever, and it's
Ever?
it's oh god, it's so good.
I haven't
It's
seen it
so
either.
great, and it's got some tarot stuff in it, but it's not what you would expect. It's not what you'd expect. It's a brilliant, awesome movie. Though.
I'll watch it very soon. I don't
Edmund,
really watch
yeah.
movies.
I know,
will-
but this I
For
recommend this
you,
one
I'll watch
highly.
it.
And you know I don't watch movies either, but I recommend this one for sure.
Is that Marvel?
No, it's not Marvel, dude. We don't play that Marvel game, dude. That's it.
For you, I will watch it, Scott.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what you guys' time constraints are, but I see it's like around an hour.
Okay.
I just want to talk about this.
Yes.
real-
Well, what are your time constraints?
I don't have. I
Because
mean,
I know we wanted to get into. Did you want to get into?
Yeah,
the,
I mean,
the schooling thing,
you know,
and then
I-
we will definitely we'll give you like any chance to plug
all I
anything at
want
the
to
end,
do
dude.
is just make you guys
Squatch Fest.
force you guys to come to this.
I already got
all.
I already got the time off work.
What
I'll be there.
are the dates?
May 13th through 16th.
Yeah, I'll
May
be there.
13th through the 16th.
100%.
Okay.
About a month.
Yeah.
Sure. So I can make this happen. Children welcome.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
100% family friendly.
Cool. Okay. Well,
I'll give the elevator pitch in a little bit, but yeah, let's talk about education, because
Yeah.
that's kind of my forte.
yeah, and I just want I have a 4 and 5 year old. My daughter is supposed to go into school this fall. The way schools are, I am not going to put her in schools in Oregon. We're honestly considering leaving Oregon just because of how things are here. But the other,
So this is the Senate Bill 254 here in Oregon, and just the first sentence of it tells you all you need to know. Removes the ability of a parent to decline required immunizations against restrictable diseases on behalf of the child.
And so this bill is to the point where even if we were to homeschool in Oregon, they would want to vaccinate my children, right? And they're like I said earlier, they are attacking this stuff across the country. But there are certainly, this has become, in a lot of ways, the pandemic and this issue specifically has become very partisan, right? So there is kind of this. There are red states where these issues aren't being dealt with the same way, right? So, so part of me wants to do that, but part of me thinks like, is this just coming everywhere later? And if I do move, I've been considering maybe Texas just because I'd be closer to the Mexican border, right? But but on that note, though, my sister's a teacher too, and I know you have a history of teaching, and so it's not. If one thing more than anything this pandemic has done, it's woken me up to things greater than just this problem with our world, right? And I think that teaching is an area that's been co-opted for a very long time, right? And it's just been getting worse. I mean, what do they say? Bill Gates has more money invested in Common Core and these things than he does in vaccines in our country. So that's what that's what I was told. Don't quote me on it, but I've heard someone say that. And, and I think it kind of makes sense. And, I know that there's wonderful teachers out there, but there's also a system that's broken, right? So, and as an insider to this world, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And what are you doing? Like, you have a child now. What's your plan? What would you recommend to new parents to do? And do we need to move out of Oregon? Do we need to be nomadic and be able to move to get away from this thing? And, or just kind of build our own better and set up our own underground railroad. Really, that's the other solution. Really, these are things that are in my mind all the time. Right? I'm like, what are we doing?
I love it.
But I have a ticking time bomb of September. Right? Because I'm not putting my daughter in school how it is here, but I need to have a solution by then.
Yeah, totally. Well, we have plenty of time to find a really workable solution for you. That's my first thing that I want to say, because there's really endless options. There's as many education options as there are different children, because everyone deserves their own unique education. And what's really beautiful is that we are now, with the age of the internet, finally able to do that. And it really wasn't possible without personal computer devices and the internet. I mean, the fact that students can log on to YouTube and completely teach themselves a skill, a trade, whatever, from just people who have put out a video, that's amazing, and definitely something that my parents didn't have.
Yeah.
So that definitely wasn't where I wanted to start, but that just there's a lot of hope in finding a solution is what I wanted to say. So just really quickly, I have a piece of paper that says I'm certified to teach middle school and high school. My license isn't current. It was in Colorado, and I didn't ever transfer to Oregon because I never applied for a teaching job here. I started teaching, obviously when you're in college. Well, first of all, it was my second major. I went to school to be a journalist, and quickly through all my journalism courses was like, oh, so 5 companies own all of the media? Oh, okay. This is really bummer. I thought that this was like way more truth telling. I don't know. It was really apparent. And like, thankfully I had really legit professors who were like, yeah, that is going on. And this is not how it was when we decided to become journalists. You guys need to get on it, And that was actually pretty inspiring. So I did finish my journalism degree, but at the same time I was very, just annoyed with the whole media culture as far as just getting the sensationalist story, which is really what I saw it turning into. And so I applied to the School of Education to reach the children. I thought that was going to be the way to get to the truth, or to get the truth out there, to change the world, by just being a compassionate teacher for children. And it wasn't really even about the subject matter for me. I chose the English route because English teachers were always my favorite growing up, and I had the coolest English teachers. But, it could have been any subject, honestly, other than math. I clearly can't do, because I just love children, and I love working with young minds, and the questions that they come up with are just so smart. They aren't programmed. They think outside of the box. They're fun. They keep you on your toes. So I just knew it was a profession I wanted to get into. And so we get into the classroom pretty quickly, because you do something called practicum, where you're observing middle schoolers and high schoolers, and then kind of walking around helping. And then you do your student teaching, which is 6 months full time. And that was great. And I loved it. I had the coolest mentor. If she ever listens to this, much love. And yeah, I was totally sold. I was like, okay, yes, but I knew that I wanted to teach outside of the country. So that was actually like my saving grace, because I don't think I would have woken up to how embedded I was in the system if I wouldn't have moved outside of the United States. So I taught my student teaching in Boulder, Colorado, one of the biggest bubbles in the country. And then I applied for jobs all over the world in any Spanish speaking country that was taking applications at the time. I happened to land in Baja California because I went on vacation there and interviewed with a school, because I told them I was coming, and they hired me on the spot, which was pretty cool. And anyway, so that got me out of the country. And I saw that in the Mexican school system, which was an international bilingual school, so it still had so many flavors of American schools. But there was already just like a different flavor of trusting students more, less authoritarianism, less like, I'm the teacher and you must do what I say. It's like they called me Miss Mackenzie instead of Miss Wolfe. And so that was like the first example of really feeling like, okay, I've never been an authoritarian. So it actually felt awesome to me to be able to relate to them on a more personal level. And then living in Mexico, it's a much more family oriented culture anyways. So I loved that most of my students were living in 3-generation households with their grandparents or younger siblings and whatever, because they were just so much more respectful to teachers, honestly, compared to my time. I also substitute taught for like a half year in Colorado. So had a lot of different experiences, and just really realized that my students in Mexico were more respectful due to the culture. And that was really refreshing to see. And it wasn't until, like I said, we got hit by that hurricane, and then like right around the same time, the prepping, and we watched like a video about the Federal Reserve, and then it was just over from there. So anyways, of course, on that discovery road, you come across information about the education system being corrupt. And I was like, oh man. So I dove into the work of John Taylor Gatto, which I know you guys are familiar with. He wrote The Underground History of American Education or Schooling. I forget the exact word, but it's this huge book that details the exact history of how our school model was even formed. And it's based off the Prussian system that came over from modern day Germany. And they were devising a school system that taught students to be obedient, obedient workers specifically. They wanted people, it all came from this one time, I don't forget the exact name of the battle, but there was a battle and soldiers went to battle and they said, actually, we don't want to fight. And they turned around and went home. And the generals and the people at the top said, this can never happen again. We must teach them to not think for themselves. Thus, an authoritarian model of schooling where you have to raise your hand to empty your bladder because you don't have control over your own body. You don't have authority over your own body. That is outsourced to an authority. That's what they want to embed in you. So anyways, once I realized that, I was like, oh, I can't be a part of this anymore. And it was such a bummer because I had already felt that with journalism. And I was like, oh, but the cool thing is that we come around and it's like, okay, I was actually drawn to these things for a reason. There's actually alternative journalism. There's actually alternative ways of schooling. And now I can put my energy into that. So that's just, catch up of what I did.
That's beautiful.
And
it's awesome.
got me to see something different. So I definitely went down the rabbit hole with John Taylor Gatto, the works of Dana Martin, who's a prominent unschooler author, and really just started looking into different things like peaceful parenting. I certainly didn't have a child of my own at the time, but working with children my entire life, it's like, wow, I do notice when children are different. And then when I meet the parents, I'm like, oh, of course it makes sense. We are sponges of our parents. And I see that with my 1-year-old right now, and it scares me so much. But anyways, so I got out of the school system. I only taught 1 year in Mexico, full term. I declined their offer for a second year, and I went back home to Oregon, worked as a waitress and hustled for like 8 months, and then pieced out again around the 2016 elections because I thought shit was going to hit the fan back then. And I planned to do my yoga teacher training during the election because I wanted to be off the grid in the jungle. So I went to Costa Rica. I learned to be a yoga teacher, and that totally helped me dissolve like so much fear in my mind, about learning all this new information, and really helped me integrate and get back into my heart, which I've always been a pretty positive, optimistic person. And then I traveled and taught yoga for a while. So I stepped away from the traditional classroom and had classrooms in the jungle and on the beach. Hard life, I know, for like close to a year. No, maybe like 10 months. And then I came back to the United States, hung out with some people who I had met when I was traveling. My good friend, Kenny Pollarantano, who you got to get on your show. He's
all right.
Incredible activist and author, philosopher. Anyways, he is a huge prominent of the Rainbow Gathering. Have you guys heard of the Rainbow Gathering?
I think I've heard you
certainly
talking about it, and I think I heard Pat talking about
probably.
it too. Yeah.
Anyways, I went to that in Oregon in 2017, right when I got back from all my travels. And even there, I learned about alternative models of education because there's something called Kitty Village, and all the elders are there teaching the little babies, and the mamas get a break because there's people that want to be aunties and uncles and hang out and play games with all the kids. And it was just the most incredible thing to see. So I got really inspired from traveling and seeing different ways of educating kids, and then really hit the books as far as like, okay, what are the actual models that are already working for people? So one author I really recommend, his name is John Holt, Holt. He's basically the father of homeschooling in the United States, but he went so far as to even say, he's really an unschooler. He's a life schooler, a world schooler, whatever you want to call it, saying that we learn from just living life. You can take a child to a grocery store or on the bus, and they're going to learn just enough, if not more, than they would in a classroom. And the biggest thing I think that really shifted something for me is just seeing, oh my gosh, why do we keep the kids all in the same age group? That's literally the only place in the world where they're only going to be around their same age group. That doesn't prepare them well for the real world.
Yeah, that's true.
So what kind of, was there any moments where you guys have questioned your schooling? Like how I always love to ask people, like, what kind of students were you in school?
I was a good little obedience student, honestly.
Me too.
I got good grades, and I did what I was told, and but at the same time, when I went to college, I can honestly say, like, I don't remember so much of, like, I was the one who I would learn the stuff to get tested, and then it was gone out the other. That's I went and got an accounting degree, and there's no way I can be an accountant, right? Like, I don't know anything right now, right? Like, and granted, it was some years ago, but like, I studied to get the tests completed and to get good grades. I did not study to learn a skill. And I also think that schooling was not necessarily suited for like the actual skill that they could have done it. I feel like they could have done it if things were hands-on. They would. I got an accounting degree And I don't know if I ever did. We never did anything with taxes, right? Nothing. We never I never learned how to do that at all. We didn't do that kind of stuff.
Did you learn about fractional reserve banking?
No, of course they didn't tell you about that, right? Of course they didn't tell you about that, but it is interesting, you know. So there's it seems like their focus is intentional, right? I would put it that way. Yeah.
And what they leave out is
exactly.
And that's what was the biggest realization for me, like diving down all of the podcast rabbit holes. Alex Jones, like great entertainer, used to put a lot of more truthful information out there, but it's what he leaves out that is critically missing, in my opinion. And I remember finding this old YouTube video of Bill Cooper. Are you guys familiar with him?
We talk about Bill Cooper all the time. Oh yeah.
I love, I listened to, I'm not kidding, over 1,000 episodes of Hour of the Time.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I was addicted, like not even addicted, just so hungry for that information that had been missing my entire life. And that was actually when I was living in Mexico. I would run up this hill, just pumped up, like listening to, it used to be Alex Jones and then it changed to Bill Cooper because I heard Bill Cooper debunking Alex Jones's like millennium broadcast, because Alex Jones was like, Russia's invading, like all this crazy stuff on the year 2000. He's like, all this fear porn basically. Yeah. And Bill Cooper was like, this guy is here to scare you guys and he's not telling the truth. Wow. And I was like, whoa, that was like 15 years ago. What's going on? So then that just got me questioning. And I love so much respect for William Cooper. His book, Behold a Pale Horse, definitely changed my life.
Yep. Me too. Yep. We think a couple of us have copies of that book for sure.
Yeah.
Did you know that their copies are leaving chapters out?
Yeah. I noticed I got a PDF version that has like 50 more pages than the one I ordered off Amazon. So, yeah. I need. It's been on my to-do list to go back and identify. Okay, where are these 50 pages and what's in them? You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah.
So so in your quest to find real practical homeschooling solutions, is there anything that you've gleaned out that we could look at, here in our community or
thanks for bringing it back.
And I want to, before we get into that question, I just want to, as a parent of young children and knows a lot about what goes on with the pedophilia and the child trafficking, like there's a lot of me that's like even if setting up a co-op or whatnot, like there's a lot of fear when putting your precious child with someone that you don't know, right? Like, and there's just so much about that. That's like, I mean, you talked about like the rainbow gathering. It's like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I don't know if I could do that really, honestly. Just like, I feel like I need to know someone like on a really intimate level to be able to trust them with my children. So maybe take that into consideration while giving this.
Well, I think Freedom Cells is the perfect model for that, because ideally your inner cadre are the people that you trust the most.
Sure.
And hopefully they're people who also are doing the same things as you, which if you have kids, you need to be around other families. So that's definitely, so there's so many schools of thought when it comes to how to educate our children alternatively. I certainly rose into the theory of unschooling, which is, saying that we actually don't need to just copy what's being done at school at home, because I think a lot of parents fall into that trap of, okay, well, we're just going to buy the curriculum and do the workbook, and you're going to learn the same things as you would in school so that you don't fall behind, and then you're going to take the test, and then you'll get the same thing. Well, that's just basically doing school at home, which is fine for some people. Totally fine. I think that many children and parents can find amazing harmony in actually following a really structured system like that. So that is one option. If your kids thrive on structure, they like workbooks, they're into getting stars on their stuff, pick out a cool homeschool curriculum and just go with it. And of course, I'm not saying like just jump into it, because there's so many aspects of finding the time and schedule and who does it and what parent is responsible for what, and all those questions aside, let's just talk about the models. Another idea is unschooling. So are you guys familiar with that a little bit?
A little bit, but break it down for us.
Break it down, please.
Unschooling would just be like, deprogramming yourself from even the idea of school. So unschoolers that I know, I'm not on that path yet myself, but the unschoolers that I know have no schedule. There's no schedule. The children wake up when they want. And the beautiful thing is that it's child-directed learning. So whatever that child is naturally drawn to, you know, kids have all sorts of curiosities and interests, whether it's horses or aliens or dinosaurs, like whatever. Well, the beautiful thing about learning is that you can learn all of the skills that you need through your interests. So if you're interested in spaceships, let's go read a book about it. We'll do the math problems to learn about how to get to the moon, and et cetera, right? So what's beautiful about unschooling, and if parents and, you know, families, co-ops, groups, whatever, have the time, you can really create a curriculum that is student-led, that inspires the student to actually end up teaching themselves. Yeah. And of course, there's different stages of it. Your kids are 5 and
4 and 5. Yeah.
4 and 5. Yeah. So they are actually in a beginning stage until they're 7 years old. They don't actually, according to some schools of thought, not telling you what to do, some schools of thought say that until 7 years old, they don't need to do any academics, literally. And think about that. Now they're forcing younger, like 4 years old into preschool to do achievement tests. It's like, what? So 7 years old is when the brain can start handling problem solving, essentially, on a larger scale. And so up until then, it's learned through play. So really, if you're thinking about this fall, it's like, double whammy, so much stuff is closed, right? It's so hard. You can't just go to the Children's Museum and OMSI and all these cool places. However, that's where, again, the Freedom Cells alternative communities come in, because as soon as we activated the homeschool parenting group, that's been one of our most active groups by far. There are play dates every single week, and several teachers, including myself, have said, okay, when we're ready for a full-time thing, just let us know and we'll do the school thing. You know, right now it's still in the play group, because exactly as you said, Ed, it does take time to get to know and to trust people with your own children.
Yes, for sure.
So it is a delicate process if we're setting up our own alternative schools or systems or platforms, whatever you wish to call it. But in my mind, gosh, I'd way rather have my mom friend who I buy eggs from be my kid's garden teacher than some rando who the state hired, who I have no idea what their personal beliefs are and what they're trying to implement in their classroom. Because honestly, my time in schools show me so much, like, some teachers hate kids and they don't even like their job. It's like, why would I subject my child to that? So anyways,
and schools become propaganda at this point too. Like, schools literally propaganda.
100%.
So
I actually, just real quick aside, I did 4 months I was a pod teacher, which I hate that term, pod, but had to do the job, and it was a wonderful experience. I taught 4 kindergartners for a couple months, and I got front row seat to see the exact propaganda that they're putting out in Portland Public Schools via the online school system, which they were having kindergartners sit in front of screens for 3 hours a day on this thing, going in and out of Zoom meetings. Like, they literally didn't even know where the mute button was. It wasn't a thing. It was like so insane. Regardless, what I'm saying is the propaganda in those worksheets were putting so much fear into the children about germs, about the amount of times that they need to wash their hands, about staying away from people. Don't kill grandma if you don't wear your mask. I mean, all of it, exactly. Totally, but the fact that I saw it in the freaking worksheets was just beyond. I was like, okay, I cannot, I cannot. So putting more energy, obviously, into the alternative ones. And then I had something else that slipped my mind, but the homeschooling group has been the most active. And my vision, 2 things. The last school type that I wanted to say is called world schooling. I have many friends who just travel the world. They are nomadic and their children learn from every culture and every place that they go to. So that's like what you're saying. If we want to be nomadic, yeah, let's just do world schooling, because they're going to learn so much more at the mercado in Mexico than they would at the supermarket here, you know, because then it adds a whole other language component. So that ultimately is certainly what I'm planning on doing. My partner is from Colombia, so we're raising our son bilingually, and we definitely plan to do as much of that as possible. I'd love him to be, you know, trilingual. So I'm comfortable saying that I'm going to be a world schooler, as long as, you know, we can travel freely, which I imagine that we will be able to do. And so, yeah, between homeschooling, unschooling, world schooling, there's really a flavor of something for everyone. However, I know the biggest hurdle, and the question I wanted to ask you guys is, you know, the amount of time that you actually have to be able to do that, because we all need to make money and, you know, pay the bills. And I don't know what your current job situation's like, but yeah, it can be the biggest challenge is finding the time.
Sure. And certainly. I mean, it'd be, me and their mom are figuring that out, right? Like it's something, like I said, I feel like the impending doom of September, but we have to have this solution by then. You know, if we're in Oregon, which is probably a big if, probably not likely at this point, but
are you in Idaho, if you don't mind me asking?
Texas, I think, is where we're leaning towards right now. But that's still all up in the air. We've looked at Idaho. We've looked at many. We've talked about many different places. But maybe this leads to another question that I don't know if you know this or not. But so these other options, a lot like unschooling and things, they sound great. But can you? Aren't you required to like meet certain criteria to be homeschooling? Do I have to test kids periodically? I don't know these answers, and I'm coming up.
Yeah. It all depends on what you want the outcome to be for your child. So if you are trying to allow your child to get, like, let's say a GED so they can apply to college, or just like whatever, that is a discussion that has to be had. I'm planning on keeping my son out of the system. The system will never know that he exists. Okay. As far as, I mean, beyond his birth certificate, which he did have to have for several reasons, mainly immigration stuff. But anyways, my advice, if you want to complete, and it depends, it's like, well, to be honest, guys, I don't think colleges are going to be around like they are when our children are that age. So is that really the path? Do we want to teach them foraging and hunting skills instead? Probably. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of where my mind's at. So I'm not necessarily preparing my son to take a GED or pass a homeschool exam. That's totally a legitimate route if parents want their children to have the option to go to these large institutions. That's not my personal route. There also can be, depending on how, I mean, I know that certain families have split households and you have to prove certain things to the state about your education. So it can get really tricky. But I guess the least amount of involvement that you have in the state, the most you can do or get away with theoretically. Because, you know, if they never know that my son, you know, is enrolled in a school, then why would they say he needs a vaccination record, you know? But and so I guess the coolest thing with the Freedom Cells is just the fact that there's so many parents that are looking for similar things, and also so many skills. So when we're thinking about, okay, well, we don't just necessarily need to go over the math curriculum a million times. Maybe the dad that's a carpenter can come teach a 2-week lesson on how we can build, and we'll all do the math together. So those real life applications are what the unschooling or whatever is really rooted in. And to me, it's so exciting because then the whole world's your classroom.
No, I love it. It sounds wonderful. Things to think about. Right. Yeah, like there's a lot to dive into there for sure. Because you have to adapt your whole life to this way of doing things, you know? So,
it's a big shift. And I actually know several, I'll connect you or maybe I'll drop the link. The gentleman who edited and helped publish John Taylor Gatto's huge 50-year anniversary edition. His name's David James Rodriguez. You guys might know is from his activism of like free hugs and stuff in California. But anyways, he is actually also a homeschooling coach / leader and does consultations with parents and breaks it down exactly how it fits your specific lifestyle. So I just know the generals, but that gentleman actually, that's his 100% job if you want that.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Stuff to think about. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Too many. I ramble too much.
No,
I know.
no,
Mackenzie,
that was
Just
perfect.
can we plug
Yes,
this?
yes.
Please do.
So we're winding down here. If there was anything else you wanted to talk about, or definitely anything you want to plug, anywhere you want to send people.
Oh, thank you guys. Well, just first of all, it's been really fun. Time
Heck
flies.
yeah.
Definitely.
We'll have to. I kind of doubt we'll get to hang out before this festival, but definitely hanging out around the campfire.
We need to come up to do another Freedom Cells in Portland too. I feel so connected to your guys' group. Yeah,
Squash
and we'd
Fest.
love to have you as for sure.
Squash Fest.
When's your guys' next one?
I think the 18th, April 18th.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
Sunday, whatever that Sunday is. Not this coming Sunday, but the following one.
When's your next one?
I don't know right now. I can't think about it. There's literally so many things going on, you guys. It's awesome. It's great.
So amazing.
It's a great thing to oh my gosh, I've been connected with this artist underground community that's been having dances and
I love it.
It's so fun. Okay, people are going to be well, actually no, all your listeners are cool. They won't get mad at me for doing that, but yeah, there's so many things going on. It's pretty exciting. So our big next event, I've always been an event planner, networker, gatherer, this is the slogan, the logo, whatever, leave us alone. It's Sasquatch Freedom Festival, put on by the Pacific Northwest. I would say it's the Meta Cadre in our region here. And a lovely human gave permission to host an event on his land last November. It was incredibly freezing, and it was supposed to be a camping event. I rented an Airbnb with friends because, even though I'm a native, I'm kind of a wuss in the cold. So we rented an Airbnb and just went for the day, but it's an agorist camping event. Come vend your wares, come teach a workshop, come hang out by the fire, come just unplug and relax. It's a really fun, freedom-focused, free-thinking event that anyone can come to. There's no, requirements on what you have to bring or anything. So people can come camp. The week is mid-May, so we're hoping for sunshine. It could be downpouring. It is Washington. So yeah, I'm probably going to rent this adventure camper van type thing and just roll it up there for the weekend. And so if it rains, have a roof, but it's just going to be adventures during the day, some workshops planned. I have a good friend teaching yoga and meditation in the morning. Actually, the same lovely human, our friend Tamara, who did the
gong bath.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's bringing her gong.
She's amazing.
Nice.
Oh, love it.
Nice.
The gong will be there.
Nice.
And so yoga. And it's really fun because people barter and trade stuff the whole time, always bringing preserves and dried foods and beef jerky that they make. I mean, just really cool stuff.
Yeah.
The guy who runs it, one of the main organizers whose land it is, he roasts his own coffee, makes his own CBD products, has ducks on the land. So he's just a wealth of information and entrepreneurship spirit, which was really inspiring to me last fall. So anyways, this has been on my calendar for a while now. I'm trying to get all the people I love and care about in the same space. I've also been in deep talks with a lot of musicians. So every night there's going to be hip hop and DJs and really good stuff. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Family friendly, 100%. There will be, of course, music going late night as well. And it's tons of acreage. So you'll be able to get sleep no matter what. But yeah, I hope that was a good overview.
Yeah,
I love it.
I can't wait.
There's no specific agenda other than free thinking, fun loving people hanging out in nature and hopefully learning some skills that are helping us all collectively be better people.
Awesome. Can't wait. I'll see you there. 100%.
Definitely.
Hey,
I'll make this happen too, for sure.
So
that's great.
Mackenzie, where can the people find you?
So funny. My main platform right now is Instagram.
Totally.
I just made my profile not private for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And it's already freaking me out. I already don't like it. So it could be private by the time this gets posted, but I'm again trying to step outside of my comfort zone. And I have a lot of information to share. So I know some, I don't know who always runs your Truthzilla page, whether it's Scott or Megan or whatever, but we send things back and forth on there, and you guys are really hard hitting with the truth on there, and we're getting censored on there and everything. So I've just been, it's actually interesting timing. I posted some things that have really gotten me a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I don't see much of your stuff these days, dude. You must be. I need to just make it.
I'm definitely shadow banned hardcore, dude. So yeah, you can go find me. But I've been doing all the highlights, so like all the things that I post stay on there. Anyways, Instagram FBO nerds, but. Yeah, Instagram. I'm at Mack_Wolfe, MACK_WOLFE. That's also my Telegram messenger, so you can text me on Telegram if you have a question. I am starting a podcast.
Okay, tell us about it. Please tell us about it.
Scott, you were like pretty much the first person that I confirmed that with because of just shifts in my life. I thought I was starting on this one platform and it shifted, and it was a really beautiful, amazing thing that I actually didn't even realize in my mind that I could do my own thing, essentially. Right? I've always been working with others and love collaborating, of course. Sometimes it always doesn't work out though. So a recent shift has allowed me to step into my own. And it's so funny how the universe works, but as soon as I made up in my mind that I was going to do a podcast, literally within 30 hours or so, 2 professional recording studios dropped into my lap. Wow. In my neighborhood, let alone, within 15 minutes of me, that they're like, oh yeah, come do your podcast.
Nice.
So I was planning on buying all the cool equipment and stuff, and there's already studios. So anyways, you guys are going to need to teach me your editing ways, but
you got it.
It is going to be a very solutions focused podcast.
Love it.
And with my journalism roots, the main spiel of it is that I'm just going to have one-on-one interviews with people that will tell their solutionary stories. That might be part of the title. And just get people inspired. And cool. I'm also a huge fan of music. So I'm going to be, and actually Bill Cooper did this on his Hour of the Time. He'd start a little introduction, play a song, little thing, play a song for an intermission. And as a yoga teacher, I'm going to incorporate breath into it. I'm going to incorporate some music. I've listened to podcasts for years now, binged. I love all podcasts. And the fact that I never realized I could do my own is funny, but also it was never the time. The time was never right. So the time is now. I've been studying for years at this point, and I'm excited to step up and step out and get really uncomfortable because I'm certainly nervous about it. But thanks to, fine folks like you guys and Adam and, just amazing individuals that are putting out content, regardless of the censorship, regardless of the pushback we get from loved ones, it's all worth it in the end because it's what we're here to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make a prediction that your podcast is going to be off the hook and you're going to do amazing. So, and you have at least 2 listeners here and 3 with Megan. So,
you guys are so sweet. Thank you. My goal is to get my first episode out before my birthday in mid-July. So perfect. That's the timeline I'm working at, but no promises.
No, I think that's great. Mackenzie, we're going to look forward to it. And I'm going to keep bugging you. There's a couple people that have been on our show. We're like, all right, where's the podcast? That's it. Damn it. Totally. And so, we'll
good. As long as you text me every once in a while. Like I said, I already have my first 5 episodes planned in my head. I've already asked the guests. Actually, my biggest hurdle is convincing my mother that she needs to be my third. There you go. Because my first one is telling my story. My second one's going to be my dad. Then I need my mother to hear their solutions. How did this foundation begin? How did I come to be? So anyways, she doesn't want to come on. She's so nervous. But I'm like, Mom, it's just going to be us hanging out and talking. It's going to be fine. Yeah, totally. So she's also always inspired by Deborah on Deborah Gets Red.
Awesome.
And we just got to meet Deborah in real life.
Oh, nice.
Trip.
Oh, it was epic. Yeah.
Wow.
It was like meeting a celebrity, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just advice
So fun.
with your mom, do it like Ricky does. Just start talking and just have the recording. Just have
Yeah.
a recording, and then you're 10 minutes in. She's like, "Are you going to start recording?" Yeah, we've been recording this whole time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so smart. So smart. So yeah, thank you guys for your support always.
Thank you,
Like,
Mackenzie.
y'all are amazing. And I'm so grateful you just took Freedom Cells and ran with it down south. I know that you're impacting so many people's lives for the better, and businesses too. I mean, gosh dang, all of the, businesses that I see in the Telegram, you guys talking about like supporting, and it's just really exciting. So I think this 2021, it's all about connections, fostering the network, building relationships, and like you were saying, Ed, just learning about others that are in this community and finding those trusted collaborators that we can move forward with, and
Building that soul family.
You guys are that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Sweet,
sure.
Mackenzie. Thank you so much.
Thank
we'll
you
see
so
you
much,
soon
Mackenzie.
in real life.
For sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Awesome.
We'll hang out soon.
Peace.
Take care, guys.
All right, you too. See ya. Good night.
Bye.
Dude, I just love her, man.
Yeah.
She's so amazing. And again, these are these people that have
Yeah.
come into our lives. These are the spiritual guideposts, man.
Yep.
These people are in our lives for a reason, and there's a deep connection there. Mackenzie, I just think you're amazing.
Yep.
I know we all feel that way, and we're so glad to have met you and just feel like we're on the same journey together.
Yep.
You know,
The ripple effect, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I think this just goes to show too, like, anybody out there, whatever you're being compelled to do, realize it's bigger than us. Like, especially when
Totally.
it's in alignment with these principles and these things that we stand for, like, for you to not carry through with it, you don't know. Like Mackenzie just had an urge to start this meeting in a park, and eventually that grew and grew and grew, and eventually it had touched our lives, and then we came and started our Freedom Cells, and it's rippled out to cost so many lives here. And I know that they've not cost so many, it's impacted so many lives. And then I know that there's a Roseburg Freedom Cell that's started from, being inspired from our Freedom Cell. And it's just kind of rippling out, dude. And so it's just like, Mackenzie, you're the progenitor of a lot of positive energy in the world. So, it's really an honor to have you on to discuss this, and can't wait for the podcast.
Yeah.
So awesome.
and can't wait to hang out at the festival. As
Oh
well.
yeah. Squatch Fest, baby.
Yeah,
Woo.
definitely.
Awesome.
So
All right.
on that note,
Yep.
guys, I think it's time
yeah.
to. Well, first of all, Megan,
Yeah.
we wish you could have been
Yeah,
with us.
yeah, Megan.
Megan,
Yeah, dang it.
we love you, we miss you, and it's when we get to this part, it's always like,
It's like, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you know what? I want to give some shout outs, dude. I'm sorry. Yes. So we have you guys, speaking of Telegram, you heard Telegram a lot on the thing there. So I'm sure if you follow us on Instagram, if you follow us on Facebook or whatever, dude, like, we do have a Telegram channel. That's the uncensored, no algorithm way to get a hold of us. So just type in Truthzilla Pod on Telegram, at Truthzilla Pod. You'll jump into our little chat channel, and it's freaking great. We're doing like little exclusive stuff there all the time that, probably most of the shit we put out you don't see. So if you come to our Telegram chat, that's going to be the best way to do it.
And that's where we will be, because obviously we're on our last strike on Facebook.
Yep.
YouTube came at us with two strikes in the last week.
Yep.
So these platforms, we know we're losing them.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
please come to Telegram.
Yep. Everybody leaving tips on Rockfin. Thank you so much. You guys are freaking awesome. That really, it helps the truth train chug along here. So,
Yeah, certainly.
I really appreciate it, you guys. Darren Grimerica picking up a freaking Truthzilla shirt, one of the
Yes.
controversial ones. So I love it, dude. You got to send us a picture.
Yeah.
You guys, freaking love you guys so much. So awesome. So with that,
We wish you
intellectual prosperity. Good night.
Beep, 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 beep. Ding.